This is your Q&A mock 1-minute warm-up at 225 words per minute. Ready? That is all I'm asking you, whether she was still standing there when he came back.
To my recollection, she was when he came back.
You are saying she was still there?
Yes.
And stayed on with you?
If I remember correctly, we talked on a few minutes after he left.
You let him have the passkey to go?
I let him have the passkey and watched him all the way to the door.
Mr. Riley, do you have someone out there that will clean up that can get that passkey?
Possibly, yes.
Possibly? Possibly or in fact?
In fact, they can get it, yes.
What's her name?
Marjorie?
Marjorie?
Yes.
So Marjorie gets the passkey when she wants it?
No, to clean an apartment.
All right.
When an apartment's available.
She gets it to clean the apartment when she wants it.
To clean an apartment.
When she wants it to clean the apartment.
The key is in the office.
She gets the key when she wants it to clean the apartment. Does she, sir, or not?
She gets the key to the apartment, yes.
Well, does somebody say here, now you take the key, or does she go up and say, I want the key. I'm going to clean the apartment, so-and-so.
We give her a note on what apartment to clean.
She takes a note. She goes to the office and says, give me the... Okay, this is your Q&A mock at 225 words per minute. Your proper names are Mr. King, Lincoln Auto Sales, Forest Lane Drive, Elmont, New York, Lincoln Ford, Ford's 244 SAF or SAF, SAF, Lincoln Company, 10th Avenue, Detective Shannon, Detective Kramer, and Jeff. Is that a license plate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 244 SAF. Ready? Mr. King, prior to the date of this incident, what was your position with Lincoln Auto Sales?
I was the supervisor of the service department.
Where is that located?
The address is 1122 Forest Lane Drive, Elmont, New York.
How long have you been with Lincoln Auto Sales?
I have been there for 23 years.
Have you always held the same position with Lincoln?
No, sir.
What was your position prior to being the supervisor of the service department?
Well, I was a mechanic for about 20 years, and I went into sales for 3 years, and then I started my present job.
Now, the incident, which is the basis of this deposition, occurred on what date?
It was February 25.
And do you recall what day of the week that was?
Oh, yes. That was a Wednesday.
What time did you start working on that day?
My day begins at 7 a.m., and I started the same time that day, too.
I don't recall if I already asked you this question. What make of cars did your garage deal with?
Basically, well, we are a Ford dealership. We do, however, service other cars. Basically, however, I would say that we deal with all makes and models of Fords.
Getting back now to the incident which occurred on February 25, do you recall what time of the day this occurred?
It was about 11:15 or 11:20 a.m.
How are you able to fix that time?
Because I was getting ready to put the items which had been delivered by the auto parts center away, and he comes each day at 11 a.m. The parts had already been delivered and signed for, and I was starting to put them away. It usually takes me about 10 minutes to check the delivery. Therefore, I could fix the time at around 11:15 or 11:20.
You do recall seeing a van backing out of the service garage?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to see the license plate of the van?
Yes, I was.
When did you see the license plate?
As he was going out of the garage, I turned around and I saw it. I do remember
Do you recall what the license number was?
244 SAF,
And what state was that registered with, do you know?
New York. It was a white plate. You know, the white plates with the blue and red on them.
You previously stated that this was a van he was driving.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
What type of a van?
I believe it was a Ford.
Were you able to see the driver of this van as he was leaving the garage?
Yes.
Could you describe him for us?
He appeared rather tall as he was sitting in the van. I would say he was about 6 feet. He was also quite husky. He had dark hair. The hair seemed to be a little long.
Were you able to see what he was wearing?
The only thing I could tell you is that he had on a red plaid vest. I think he had a sweatshirt under it. You know, one of those sweatshirts with the football names on it. That is all that I can recall seeing.
Now, this van pulled out of the garage rather quickly.
Yes, very quickly.
Do you know why this van had been parked in your garage?
No, not really. I assumed it had been brought in for service.
Do you keep a log or a book of some type where you record the cars that are brought in for service?
Yes, we have a log.
And was this book in your log?
Yes, it was.
It was listed in your log, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it was listed there.
You were under the impression that this van had been brought in for service?
Yes, sir.
What did you do after the van left the garage?
I telephoned to the police because I felt The situation was quite suspicious.
What occurred next, Mr. King?
I told the police what had happened, and the officer ran a check on the license plate.
What did that check reveal?
That the van was registered to a company called Lincoln.
What happened next?
The police were going to the location of Lincoln, and I was asked to accompany them.
Did you accompany the police in the patrol car?
Yes, sir, I did.
Where did you go?
We went to the Lincoln company, which was on 10th Avenue. They wanted to see if the van had been returned to the company.
What did you find at that address?
There was a large garage, and it was all locked up. There was no one in the place and no one in the area.
Were you able to speak with anyone there?
No, sir.
Do you recall what time this was that you were at the garage?
Oh, it was about 1 by now. It could have been 1:15.
Were you wearing a watch at that time?
Yes, I always have my watch on.
Where did you go from there?
The officers drove me back to my job.
Did the officers complete any reports?
Oh, yes. They filled out many reports, and they said that they would be in touch with me.
Did there come a time when a Detective Shannon and a Detective Kramer had a conversation with you?
Yes, they called me at work.
What was the gist of the conversation you had with the detectives?
They wanted me to come down to the precinct and discuss the matter of the van with them.
Did you oblige?
Yes, I made an appointment to see them later on that day. I think it was at 4:30 that I was to meet with them at the precinct.
Would you please tell us what your conversation with these men consisted of?
Well, I explained what had occurred that morning. I told them about the van being in the garage and leaving rather suddenly, and also about the shortage in our stock that was reported the following day.
Were they able to tell you to whom that van was registered?
Yes, it was registered to Lincoln, but it had been stolen about 2 weeks prior to the date of this incident.
Had Lincoln reported the fact that this van was stolen to the police department?
Yes, they had.
Now, Mr. King, you mentioned that you had a stock shortage at your service department the following day.
Yes, sir. Jeff reported that numerous items were missing from stock and had not been signed